All right, welcome back. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about correspondences. Now, we've talked about correspondences quite a bit before on this channel, but not in the context of what to have on your altar during your operation. So, let's get into it. Okay, so while doing the ritual for the Patreon and Subscribestar supporters on the Godform tier, I was reminded of this and thought I would do a video on it, as I think it will be a great help in your magical practice. Now, I've covered correspondences before, both in my programs, The Laws of Magic, and on the YouTube channel, and I've covered them quite a bit because they're important. When it comes to physicality, opposites attract. Think of the poles on a magnet. The like poles repel each other, the opposite poles attract each other. We get male and female, opposites attract on the physical. However, in the mental and spiritual, like attracts like. And this is self-evident in today's political atmosphere, where ideas that some people don't agree with are not only rejected, they are sometimes violently so. And I'm going to refrain from going off on a cancel culture rant here. But it's the same when it comes to spirituality. We know that religion is very linked to mentality, as their ideologies. They stem from ideas. But beyond that, spiritually, the actual realm of spirit, like attracts like. You're not going to have demons hanging out with angels. You're not going to have low-level spirits grouping with archangels in the higher planes. That's not how things are set up. And I get more in depth with this like attracts like in The Laws of Magic, Volume 2, for those of you who may be interested. Because I've already covered it in the program and I'm not going to reiterate it here. I'm just letting you know why it's important to have items on your altar that are going to correspond with the nature of your operation. Now, there is a great deal of physicality in our magical practice. We don't just discount the physical. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a need for an altar at all, let alone anything to place upon it. But the bulk load of the magical work that we're doing is mental and spiritual. We're directing unseen energies. We're doing a great deal of visualizing and directing our mental focus. We're calling for spirits to assist us. And this is why we put as many correspondences on our altar as we can without it becoming too chaotic. Makes sense? Are you with me so far? So what are some things that we can use to place upon our altar for correspondences? Well, the first thing that we can use, and one of the most common, are tarot cards. Your tarot deck is going to have both elemental and astrological correspondences in them. So, for example, I just did the solar ritual for the Godform tier on Patreon and Subscribestar. So, of course, I have the Sun Tarot card on the altar as I'm performing it. There is going to be a card in the deck that corresponds to every planet and each sign. And, of course, you have the elements as well. Now, that's a little bit too much to get into here. That would take up too much time because there's so many of them. And I believe I went through them all in another video. But just for the basics, which will cover most every situation, you have the 4 aces for the elements. For the sun, you have the sun. Mercury is the magician. Venus is the empress. The moon is the high priestess. It's not the moon card that some people think. The moon card corresponds with the sign of Pisces. The moon itself corresponds with the high priestess. Mars corresponds with the tower. Jupiter corresponds with the wheel of fortune. And Saturn corresponds with the world. Okay, so that should cover most of your needs. There is a tarot course in development. A lot of people have been asking for it. It will not be the next program, but it is on the burner. Now you can just lay your cards on the altar for the duration of your operation, and that's fine. It's a correspondence on the altar. But what I like to do, because it enhances the presentation and saves some space, is I've gotten a bunch of these little stands for game pieces. You know, when you have like these little cardboard game pieces and they fit inside the stand so you can stand them up on the game board. But if you get the right ones, they also can hold cards. And that way you can stand up your cards on your altar. And it just looks better. You can see everything that's going on your altar without having to stand over it looking down at it. Plus it saves some room. You can get them in a bunch of different colors or even clear. Now, I've had mine for a long time. I don't recall where I got them. I do know that I had to hunt for them a little bit. Now, the only thing you need to be concerned about with this is don't stand your cards up too close to your candles to where if they fall over, they can land on your candle and catch fire, right? You want to put them in a place on your altar where that is not going to be a possibility, because they can and will fall over. If you're walking around your altar, circumventing around the circle, all they need to do is catch a strong enough breeze from you doing that, and they can take a tumble. So if you do this, make sure that you keep that in mind. This typically isn't a problem if you're just laying the cards down on your altar as usual. Okay, so next up, some other correspondences for your altar. How about gemstones? It's the same deal with gemstones as it is with tarot. There are going to be gemstones that correspond to each planet. And there's always going to be some planetary correspondence to what your magical operation is for. This is why we do planetary magic, people. If you're not doing planetary magic, then you need to start. It's not just about petitioning a big ball in the sky to do what you want. It's more of a system of correspondences because everything can be boiled down to an astrological correspondence. So if you know your planetary correspondences, then you'll know what to put on your altar for any operation that you're doing. Now, for like the sun, you could have like citrine or amber. There's tiger's eye and sunstone. That one should be an obvious one. For Venus, there's rose quartz. Mars, red jasper. For Saturn, there's onyx. It's really endless. There's just too many to cover here. Just know that gemstones are something else that you can place upon your altar. As long as it corresponds with the planetary ruler, that corresponds with the nature of the operation that you're doing. Now, this next correspondence to place upon your altar probably should have been first because it's quite obvious and most of you are probably doing this anyway. And that's incense. Burning some incense on your altar, either as an offering or as a correspondence, is a good idea for your magical operations. We don't just use them because they smell nice. There is a purpose and a reason for everything that is on our altar. For starters, scent association could get you into the frame of mind for ritual rather rapidly. And of course, we do it for magical correspondences. But with so many incenses available, how do you know what corresponds with what? Well, it's for this reason that I'll use just a planetary blend for most operations. Of course, the planetary blend that I use is going to correspond to the planet, which corresponds to the operation that I'm doing. Now, for the DIYers, you can do it yourself by taking every herb and ingredient and then breaking them down to their basic correspondences, which I have done, but these days I pretty much save that for like candle rub, for dressing candles, because I never really perfected my incense blends. Perhaps one day I will, but if you want your incense to correspond and smell nice, then using a blend from somebody who's perfected theirs makes it easy and a good idea. There's a lot of time and experimentation into getting things like that just right when you're doing it yourself. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about to put on your altar to correspond with your operations would be sigils, particularly spirit sigils. For every operation that you do, there will be a corresponding angel and demon who is suited for that task. Now, if you're doing a full evocation to call them forth and petition them, then there are different rules for that. You should be keeping the demon in the triangle of art and not just a sigil on your altar. But if we're strictly talking correspondences, then a sigil on the altar is perfectly fine. However, if you do this using an angel and a demon for the same operation is probably not the best idea. You don't want it to be open war on your altar. Go with one or the other. Now, there are other spirit sigils, but these are the most commonly used. And just like a tarot card, I can put them on my altar with the little game piece stands. Yes, even your angels and demons do have planetary correspondences also. That's why I say if you're not practicing planetary magic, you're missing out on most of magic, because everything ties into it. It's almost like the glue that holds it all together. And it's why I created the 7 Planetary Powers program, to get you up and running with Planetary Magick with ease. It's going to take all the guesswork away and make Planetary Magick easy for you. And I'm going to give you 15% off the price of the program. Link will be in the video and in the description with the discount already applied. Now, this is not the monthly sale. This code is exclusive to this video only. The 7 Planetary Powers is the most complete and comprehensive program on Planetary Magick available today. If you're not doing Planetary Magick, then you're missing out on most of magic, because practically all magic is tied to astrology, and practically all the grimoires refer to it in some manner. But a lot of people skip Planetary Magick because it seems too complex. That's where the 7 Planetary Powers comes in. It's going to explain it in a way that's easy to understand and do. We're going to go over the 3 things that constitute Planetary Magick. We're going to go over the importance of the moon cycles. We're going to cover all 49 planetary hours along with the planetary correspondence keyword system so that you know how to best use them. I'm going to show how to invoke and banish each of the planetary powers, how to best use planetary retrogrades, how to set up area of effect spells, and much more. So if you want to supercharge your magic with the power of the planets, the 7 Planetary Powers is the program to do it. You can get the 7 Planetary Powers and other Mind and Magic programs over at mindandmagick.com today. Okay, so that'll about do it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like and share it if you did. And visit mindandmagick.com where I have even more programs on magic and the occult. Follow me on social media, links to follow. This is Frater Xavier, and I'll see you next time. Take care.